Tennis Takeaways with Lisa and Dewey. I'm Dewey Evans, a tennis coach, coach educator, and advocate for tennis here in Austin, Texas.
And I'm Lisa Stone, tennis parent, creator of Parenting Aces, which is a platform for tennis parents to come get help with everything from junior tennis development to college recruiting and beyond.
Yeah, let's be honest. We're going to be clean with people from here on out. This is in
Yep.
part an infomercial for the services that we offer. We are in the business of taking the experiences that we've had as parents, as coaches, as people in this realm, and helping others to do better. And we have products that we hope that you'll take part in, and this is part of us just sharing part of our experience, and hope that you'll dig a little bit deeper. I know that Lisa's site, parentingaces.com, her Facebook page, and all the things that she does are huge resources for the tennis community. And today we're going to dig into the subject of parent education. It is a place where I believe is the missing part, the missing link between the parent-player-coach relationship, where coaches invest in themselves, parents invest in players, but who's investing in the parents?
Exactly, Dewey. And we know that learning how to navigate through the junior and college tennis process is an ongoing effort. It's not something that you can just pick up a book or read one article and say, okay, now I know how to do this. This is something that is evolving as your child develops, as your knowledge develops, as your child is exposed to more opportunities and options as they go through the junior tennis development process. And it requires ongoing effort on the part of the parent to stay on top of what's available, how to navigate, who to bring into your camp to help your child achieve his or her goals. Parents are more than willing to write the check for the coach, for the fitness trainer, for the mental toughness specialist, for the latest equipment, for camps, for clinics, for everything. But they are less willing and open to writing the check when it comes to educating themselves. And in the long run, if you as the parent are better educated, it's going to save you time and money down the road. It's also going to help your child achieve their goals in a much more efficient manner, hopefully preserving your relationship with your child. So there is a whole host of reasons to invest in parent education. And we're not talking about spending tens of thousands of dollars or even necessarily thousands of dollars. We're talking about making an investment, not a big one necessarily, but to get the information that you need to help your child. Things like Dewey, using a parent advocate to help you recognize things that are working and things that aren't working. Using online resources such as parentingaces.com, becoming a premium member so that you have access to quarterly consults with me, somebody who's been through this. So you have access to thousands of articles, 9 years worth of articles and podcasts and interviews, videos, product descriptions. There are books out there, great books out there. Frank Giampaolo's been in this space for a long time too, and he's produced some great material. So there are several of us in the space trying to help parents.
Yeah, I'm going to speak from the coach's perspective because I've been both a parent and a coach, but from the coach's perspective, there is a school of thought, and I got this feedback from a coach very recently on something that I posted, of the absolute best tennis parent is somebody who drops their kid off and then they go away, let the coach do their job. And I will say, if you have a coach like that, then get rid of that coach, because the reality is you are the most important part. Without parents, there are not kids. But if you have a coach who views you as an adversary, then they're not going to be that person who aids you and nurtures you along. They want you to go away. And I think in a lot of cases that's why looking for, as Lisa said, an outside advocate who can help you see things in a way that you don't see them. Because the reality is, I'm going to talk from the parent side now. As a parent, I know I have all kinds of blind spots when it comes to my kids, right? People look at it all the time, and you just, you make excuses for them, and you do all these things, because that's how we are with our kids. We want to protect them, we want to do those things, and finding someone who will work with you, see things from a different perspective, and who is there for you, not just for your child, I think is hugely, hugely, hugely important.
Right.
Did you have somebody like that when you were in the trenches as a tennis parent, Lisa?
No, no, and that's why Parenting Aces exists, because I didn't have somebody like that, and I kept looking for somebody like that. I went to our national federation, I went to my son's coaches, I went to other parents, and I didn't have that assistance. I found it on the internet, thankfully, and started compiling the information, and that was the beginning of parentingaces.com, was bringing that information onto an online space so that other parents could access it. But I wanted to share a little, kind of funny aside. I was out playing yesterday, my second time back playing tennis since COVID hit.
Yeehaw!
And I know, it felt really good to be out there. Singles, I was playing singles because I'm just not mentally ready for doubles yet, but singles was awesome. Anyway, the court we were playing on, adjacent to us, a lesson was going on. There was a coach on one side of the net and two very young players on the other side of the net. And I'm very young, I'm saying maybe 6 and 7, 5 and 6. I mean, they were itty bitties. The mom, who I couldn't see from where I was standing on my court, was outside the court, just outside the court. And every time the coach would issue an instruction or a suggestion to the two little players, the mom would yell from behind the court, "See, that's what I've been telling you to do. This is why you should listen to me, blah, blah, blah." And I looked at the woman that I was playing with and I said, "Oh my God, I am so tempted to go over there and hand that woman my business card right now." And it was such a funny, in my face example of a parent who needs some guidance, right?
Mm-hmm.
She's paying good money for this coach to be out there with her children for an hour, however long, and yet she's taking time away from the lesson by interjecting her opinion as the coach is trying to teach. And finally, the coach said, okay, this is my time, and when the kids are done, then it's your time again. And I thought he handled it really well. I was pleased to see that, but it was. And
I'm going to give it one of these. Okay, so maybe he was okay, because I think that may be a coach who would prefer that the parent not be there. And with a little itty bitties,
no, I don't think it was that. I don't think it was that. I think it was more that he was trying to get a point across, and she was interjecting in a confrontational manner, mm-hmm. as opposed to letting the coach do his thing during the time and absorbing what the coach is doing. Because if you're going to be there as the parent, you should be watching and listening to the coach so that you're gaining experience and knowledge as the parent. And on those days where your child's not in a lesson, that you have some language to use, some cues to use to help your child continue on the development pathway.
Well, and there's my point, is I would rather see parents at lessons than not at lessons.
Yeah.
Because
for sure.
What I want is during the times that the child isn't with me, that they be receiving somewhat the same message as the one that they were getting on the court. I want the parents to reinforce those messages, to be the filter, because oftentimes, we as adults don't realize that when we're talking to a 9-year-old or a 13-year-old, we're really speaking a different language. And so we haven't dumbed things down to their level, and so the parent can be that filter who can interpret the things that are being said in such a way that the child understands it. Ultimately,
Sure.
this goes into coach education. Coaches should understand how those kids at certain ages take in information and how they learn. But the worst thing that can happen is the parent drops the child off, has preconceived notions of what things should be, comes and picks the child up, and during that 5-minute car ride home, totally topsy-turvies everything that happened in that hour lesson, and now right back, so they've just wasted time and money on their child's development. So, and I think that's part of where the education of the parent can be greatly beneficial to them, maximizing the dollars that they're spending on their child.
Sure. And even before that, let's take it back to the beginning of the process. An educated parent is going to have the appropriate information to choose the best coach for their child or children, right? So if you go into this as the parent blind, you have no idea what questions to ask. You have no idea what things to look for if you go observe a lesson or observe a group, drill session. Then a lot of times that's going to lead you to choose a coach that may not be the best fit for your child and for your family for any number of reasons, right? So by having the education at the beginning and then continuing the educational process as your child continues his or her journey through player development, then you're going to be set up for success.
So one of the things that consultants who have been in the trenches understand is, where are those bodies buried? Meaning, like a Sherpa guide helping you up Mount Everest, there are times when that Sherpa guide will say, don't go over there because that's where the bodies are, right? People fell over cliffs and things. But if you insist on going over there, go over there, but I'm not going with you. And what the coaches can do, or consultants can do, is help you figure out early in the journey. I think if we were to look at the basic progression of families with multiple children in the game of tennis, and in every sport, the younger ones do better. And that's for a lot of reasons. Some of it is the not quite as much pressure, so they fly under the radar a little bit. But a big part of that reason is the first time around, those kids are guinea pigs. The parents are trying to figure out what's the right combination of private lessons versus group lessons, and where do we go play tournaments, and where do we do all of these. And by the time the second and third one comes along, the parents have that kind of figured out. So there's not as much rejiggering things at an older age to make up for the mistakes that were made at a younger age. The younger ones start out on a good path, and that's certainly where we want to go.
Yeah, absolutely. And not only that, but even if you look at professional tennis, a lot of times it's the younger sibling who winds up at a much higher level than the older sibling, right?
Yeah.
For exactly those reasons you said. But on top of the parent understanding better how the system works, also hopefully by the second or third child, the parent has learned to manage their own emotions, their own body language, all of those things. No, I think you do better as you go on, right? I think, like for me, I had an epiphany when my son started playing college tennis. All of a sudden, this was the end of the journey for him. We knew that professional tennis was never on his agenda. So for me as the parent, all I was doing at those college tennis matches was savoring the opportunity to watch my child play. There was nothing on the line. Rankings didn't matter anymore. His wins and losses for him individually just didn't matter anymore. It mattered for the team, obviously, but I felt like this pressure had been lifted, and it took me a very long time to get to that place. But I remember feeling some of that at his last junior tournament and feeling like, okay, he's committed to college. We're at the end of the line. This is the last tournament. I'm just going to sit back and savor the experience of getting to watch my child play this sport. And I know that, the nerves definitely come in with child 2 and 3 or 4, however many, but I think we do learn some self-awareness and some self-control as we go through the process. And toward the end of the process, maybe we're a little better, a little better.
I mean, I think that we are. We certainly learn, but I have to believe, having had 3 kids go through youth sports, that you care as much about the last one as you did the first one, and
For sure.
reasoning still tends to fly out the window. If we were to look back through texts when my youngest was competing, it was as much I'm changing everything in my tennis program as it was when the oldest was competing. But there was a lot of learning. But I recognize I would have been better off had I had more mentoring from a parent perspective. And I think a lot of people were afraid to share their opinion with me because I had been a coach for so long of people at a high level, and therefore I must have it figured out. And what they didn't realize was it was in a very, very different role, and I wish that I had been able to kind of switch roles with some of the parents of older kids that I coach, who are further along in the journey, and let them help me from the parent side. But for me, that meant becoming vulnerable, where I was still coaching their kids, right? And so now I'm presenting myself as someone who is less confident, and that was a hard
Yeah.
thing to do. So I
Sure.
wish that there were things available, like the resources that are on Parenting Aces, like the things that I'm doing, setting up and learning Zone.Academy, where I have something called Performance Architect, and that is me kind of helping parents as well as continuing to help players virtually with some things that they're struggling through. And but
Yeah.
back to the beginning, why aren't parents spending the money? How much is it for a subscription to parentingaces.com? What does it cost?
It's $9.95 a month or $95 for the year. It's, less than the cost of one private lesson
Yeah,
to have a
right. So
year's worth of access, and that includes personal consultations with me. So it's not just the resources that we have online, but it's also having access to somebody who's been through the process, who understands the questions to ask, and is there to answer questions and offer guidance. And it's the same, with what you're doing, Dewey. What's it cost to work with you?
I guess it really does depend on what that level is. So, there are some
Okay.
basic subscription type things that are, $39 a month, but then there is also, private one-on-one type of coaching with parents that is as much as $1,000 a month. That, because there are people who are spending significantly more than that. I know personally of people that are spending,
Sure.
70, 80, $90,000 a year on their child's tennis. And so
Absolutely.
why wouldn't you take that other piece and invest in yourself? Because I think the one thing that has been commonly said is, there is no manual that comes with being a parent, and being a parent of a junior athlete is no different. It is trial and error. We are not prepared to do it, and everybody gets the opportunity, right? We get to have a kid, we get to sign them up for a program, and we get to go through the experience. There's no licensing, there is no course to go through, but there should be a course.
Well,
There's
and you and I are offering that opportunity. And it's, the old saying is, if you don't learn your history, you're destined to repeat it. So why not take advantage of having access to people like Dewey, like me, and there are others out there. We're not the only two, but you get us every Wednesday morning. So
Right.
why not take advantage of the experience that we have so that you don't repeat the errors and the experiences in a negative way that maybe we've gone through ourselves or we've witnessed in other people going through this process. We're here, we're offering services, and we have a track record. So I think that, the message that I want people to take away from today's show, Dewey, is invest in yourself, parents. You're investing a lot in your children. By investing in yourselves as well, you're going to maximize your chances and your child's chances of reaching that goal, whatever it is. We're here to help with that.
Can you share with us before we go, because we are running short on time, a story that of something that you wish you had known in the beginning of the journey that you didn't understand until it was too late?
Rankings. That's the big one. I wish that I had known at the beginning not to put any faith whatsoever in rankings in the 10 and unders, in the 12 and unders, and even into the 14 and unders. I wish I had understood the importance of the journey and growing day by day and those incremental improvements day by day, rather than being so caught up in where is my child ranked compared to this one and that one and the other one. And it was really too late by the time I truly was able to understand that and internalize it and have it impact the way I parented my child. So yeah, that's a huge one.
For me, I would say the piece that's missing that I see in a lot of players' development is having a written developmental plan that focuses on performance goals rather than outcome goals. So it kind of dovetails on what you said, that there's a lot of reactionary coaching that happens based on somebody lost a tennis match. And if you have a plan and it is written out and you're measuring against the performance that you're looking for, then you're better able to gauge whether it's time to move on and coach something else, or you just need to continue working on that something else rather than just reacting all the time to what we saw this week. What do we see this week? What do we see this week? That would be my takeaway for the day. We got a whole lot more. They exist at parentingaces.com. They exist through reaching out to me at deweyevans@gmail.com and Lisa at parentingaces.com. And we're going to be back next week with some more great information for all of you that are looking to help yourselves, help your child, help someone that you know along this journey.
Absolutely. And we're here for you, and we want to hear from you. We want to know what you need. And one way that you can share that with us is we're doing something a little different this week. There's a new app that's just still in beta testing called Locker Room. And tomorrow afternoon, well, yeah, I guess it's afternoon for a lot of people, noon Pacific time, 3 p.m. Eastern, I am going to be leading a conversation on the Locker Room app, dovetailing on what Dewey and I have been discussing today. To join us on that conversation, first thing you need to do is download the Test Flight app, and you can get that in the App Store or Google Play Store. And then we have a link for you to join in the conversation on the Locker Room app. Do we have a graphic with that link, or?
We don't have it at the moment. I think the best place to go is we will have something that a link down in the comments just a little bit later this morning for the best place to go to it. And do you also have that on the Parenting Aces site on Facebook?
It's actually up on our Twitter feed, but I will add it under in the comments on this live stream too, so people will be able to get it. And in the YouTube comments, we'll add the link there as well. So that's tomorrow, Thursday at noon Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern. Locker Room app will be doing a live interactive conversation. It's audio only. You can join in, ask your questions, add your 2 cents, and hopefully we'll be able to answer the questions that you have and give you a little more information on your parent journey.
Yeah, the more you can get involved in the conversation and to share your own stories in order to help other people, the better everybody is going to feel. A lot of times we feel like we're the only ones going through something when we're going through it, and being part of a community is important. You know, it's one of the things that we're doing on learningzone.academy is we're creating community also, and I know that Parenting Aces has a group that I'm a part of on Facebook, which is part of having a group so that we don't feel like we're out there on an island all by ourselves, but that we are part of something more. If you're not part of that group on Facebook, I suggest that you go on today, if you're a Facebook person. If you're not a Facebook person, well, get into a Twitter fight. Sorry, my opinion of Twitter.
Oh, come on.
No, one of the safe havens on Twitter. Join in the conversation. So, good. Thank you, Lisa. Great conversation today.
Yeah, thank you, Dewey, and we'll see y'all next week on Tennis Takeaways.
Bye now.